All right, everybody. Hopefully you guys can hear me. We are about to start here in 5 minutes. Shout out to everybody that's on the webinar so far. Super excited about this as everyone's piling in. And as everyone is piling in, go ahead and tell me where you guys are from, where you guys tuning in from. We're about to start here soon. So excited everyone's here and about to roll into it. What's up? What's up, everybody that's piling in? Nick, what's going on, man? How's your day going? And as I said, everybody who's piling in, say where you're from geographically, and then also what company you're coming in from. I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm actually at the sales office right now. So say what's up there. Matthew, what's going on from Kentucky? Waterloo, what's going on? I need to get up to Canada at some point. Corporate Jobs of America, that's what's up. San Francisco, what's up, San Francisco? Charlotte, not too far away from me, what's up there? Boston, what's going on? We got Oakland in the house. Dang, San Francisco, not San Francisco, Golden State Warriors, y'all are killing it. Bristol, the UK, shout out to the UK. Idaho, shout out to Idaho. Justin from St. Pete, what's going on, man? Florida, what's going on? Toronto, ATL, let's get it. Y'all know Atlanta, that's my spot. Atlanta, shout out to Atlanta again. Boston team, what's up, Boston team? Jeremy, what's going on, man? Lucas, absolutely not. We know that Atlanta is Atlanta. Yeah, don't even try to compare Atlanta to Toronto. Toronto Raptors, y'all doing some solid this year, but we'll see what happens. What's going on? Santa Cruz, what's going on? Long Island, what's going on? Interlinks, what's going on? Big Squid, what's going on in Salt Lake City? Love Salt Lake City, by the way. Best skiing in the world. Hey, I gotta check that out. I don't even know how to ski, but I feel like I need to figure that out. SR team from Portland, what's going on? Portland, I'm actually going there next week. What is going on? Megan, what's happening? What's going on, Green Bay? What's happening? Cool, awesome to see where everyone is calling in from. Titletown. Let's see who else I missed here. Sid, what's going on from Chicago? One of my favorite cities to go to. It's getting major cold up there though. Salesforce DC, what's going on? SoCal, what's going on? Denver's a great city too. Good to see the mountains. We don't get that here in Atlanta pretty much. And we got Stone Mountain and stuff like that, but it's not as cool. In New York, that's my city. My brother lives up there. I got Ingram from New York, upstate. What's going on? See Santa Monica in there. Catch up with all these. ATL represent. Yo, ATL, let's get it. I'm so fired up all these Atlanta people in here. ATLians, we squad up. Thought Spot, Palo Alto, what's going on, guys? Charleston, not too far away from me. What's up? Anika, SCR team from Madison Heights, what's going on? Nate from San Francisco, what is happening? Josh, what's going on, man? Oh, Josh says what's up. Tell him I said what's up too. Kansas City, that's what's up. Chiefs are killing it. Y'all are doing some big stuff. Let's go get this bread. Yeah, let's get it. Manuel from London, what's going on? Chicago, Showpad, what's going on, squad? London, yo, shout out to UK and London. Y'all are representing. I need to go over to UK and say what's up to you guys. You guys are representing hardcore. Daytona, what's going on? Go Cheese. Yeah, the kid is killing it. India, what is going on? I was in Chennai, so shout out to India. That was the first country I ever went to, guys, by the way, which is still insanity to me, which is really cool. Sorry if I caught you at a bad time. That's hilarious. We'll talk about why. We'll talk about that intro. Awesome. What's up? Clamaro, Buffalo. Buffalo, New York? Shout out to Buffalo, New York. London. No, London is. Shout out to London. Y'all are representing hardcore. Australia. Shout out to Australia on the other side of the world. My best friend actually lived there for a year and a half, so shout out to you guys. Boston, what's going on? Seattle, New Jersey, New York. Awesome, guys. Awesome to see where everyone is coming in from. This is really, really cool. Cool. So as everyone's piling in, we're about to start the presentation here. But again, as you guys are coming in, say where you're from. And then as we go throughout this, I'll kind of get the lay of the land of this presentation. But again, super excited for everyone who showed up here right now. But I'm about to dive into the presentation. Shout out to Toronto. We got New York. We got San Francisco, Boston, Arizona, Nashville. Shout out, shout out, shout out. Cool. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you again for everyone showing up here. As I said, as you're entering in, go ahead and put all the stuff that you have and that you're going to be doing. So right here, I'm actually going to go into the presentation. So I'm going to share this with you guys. and then we're going to dive into what you guys are here for, which is the cold calling framework. So let's get into it. Cool, guys. So this is what I'm going to be presenting on today, and we're about to dive into it. So right here, guys, as you guys see, we're going to be diving into, if you guys can, everyone can see it here, we're going to be diving into messaging and cold calling today. So that's what you all signed up, what you signed up here for. This is what we're going to be talking about. And I'm super excited to dive into this because this is something that we've been working on. And it's crazy because I'm just super fired about this because we had over 2,300 people sign up for this webinar. I know people are going to continue to be piling in. So there definitely is a need in the marketplace for this. And I don't know if you guys are big fans of Gary Vaynerchuk. I am. And he always says, the market is the market is the market. This essentially means at the end of the day that the marketplace, if there's a need there, people are going to drive towards it. And so that's what we're trying to talk about today. And when it comes to cold calling, I believe there's two things that it really comes down to. One is Gen Xers. So my boss, JBarrows, Gen Xer, we had a conversation about this. And we talked about how Gen Xers are focused on, they're making cold calls back in the day. So they were making 60, 80, 100 phone calls, just calling up people, right? And so through that process, leaders, maybe they're in this webinar today, VP of sales, SVP of sales, and C-level positions aren't hearing the buzzing on the floor. So they're like, wait, what's going on? Why are my reps making calls? Because that's what they were used to, right? And so I think initially with cold calling, millennials such as us, we don't like making phone calls that much. I was fortunate enough where my leader pushed me to make phone calls, and that's why I'm really passionate about it today, and that's why I got the Keep Dialing shirt on. But I don't know if maybe if I didn't have that leader, maybe I wouldn't be as proponent to cold calls. Maybe I would just be hiding behind emails, right? So this webinar more so is going to teach you all from a leadership perspective and from a rep perspective how to create a framework for success and also to call with confidence. Because that was one of the main things that we saw as a challenge when we were inside of an organization. I was talking to John, we didn't have the structure really developed to make those cold calls. It was like, here's some value props, go figure it out. But we actually developed an entire process that you can take from step one all the way to the end to create confidence when you're calling and able to handle these objections that you may be facing. So again, I want you all to look through the lens of the current role that you're in as we go throughout this presentation and really understand kind of the story of how we developed this all. And so essentially, what we're going to be talking about is how you develop that messaging. So right here, the death of the average sales professional. So I could riff on this all day long on why we need to be paying attention to this and how this can be more innovative. But essentially what this really comes down to is if you're able to cold call effectively, then you're going to be better off than not being able to. We know that there's multitudes of ways you can reach out to your prospects, obviously through the phone. Like I said, there's emails, there's social selling, there's videos, direct mail, events, et cetera, et cetera. But if you're not able to make that personal touch phone call, then you're actually just going through the motions. You're not being as good as you can be. Because if you really think about it, the tone in our voice, the way that we gauge a prospect, that way is actually going to be way more beneficial for us than anything else. So I want you all to really think about that today is, how can I prevent myself from not dying the average death of a sales professional and actually create innovation to actually do the things that you need to do? And that's what we really need to focus on. Again, there's so much technology out there. I know I'll even mention this one, Google AI, right? Google AI, if you guys don't know about that, the context on that, it actually made calls to a restaurant and a barbershop, and the Google AI sounded better than the people that were answering at the restaurant. And so I was like, shoot, I might as well get rid of this shirt and not say keep dialing anymore. However, when I really thought about it, when we make cold calls, we have our context that we're going to add. We have the humanity that we're going to add as sales reps. And so essentially what that wraps into is really the art and the science of a sales professional. So the science, let's talk about that. As sales reps, we need to be focused on the science and the frameworks that we're gonna have. So today, as we go throughout this webinar, there are gonna be certain frameworks that will be implemented that you can then execute on and immediately take here and see results. So throughout this presentation, it's gonna be highly impact, fire value through everything that we're gonna do. And there may not even be much time for Q&A because there's so much value in here. And so with all that being said, we're gonna have continuously conversations about this, but there's more stuff that's coming out of this. But at the end of the day, you gotta have a framework for success. And so within that framework is a science. So we have to treat this as if you're a scientist. So, hey, look, maybe I make 50 calls in the morning from 8 to 9, and then I make 4 to 5 local time and make calls. And then one of those times goes to see if it works. essentially that's a win-win situation. So what we like to say at JBarrows sales training is split testing or A/B testing to figure out, hey, is this call going to be effective at this time, or is it going to be effective at this time? Again, I don't know your use case in all your organizations. There's 600 people on this webinar today, but essentially you got to figure out what that is for you. I know what it is for me. You got to figure it out for yourself, right? Through that framework, which goes into the art. So this picture on the right is the art of the sales professional. The way that I handle objection is going to be completely different how you handle objection. And if you guys have interacted with John before, the way he's going to sell you is completely different how I'm going to sell you, right? I'm a flow, more easygoing, more, I'm not as direct as John, who's like, in your face, let's get this done. But you got to figure out what's most comfortable for you, because it doesn't matter. Whatever's effective is going to be effective. And that's what we're really trying to focus on here throughout this training. What's the framework and science that we have to then have the art of the sales professional to then execute on top of that? Again, how you're calling gatekeepers. I'm really nice to gatekeepers. John's super direct with them. I'm JBarrows, put me through the phone. I'm like, hey, it's Morgan. What's going on? I was here to call you. There's a different vibe to it. But again, we're going to go through that today. But the framework is what we're really going to focus on here, so you all can become scientists at the end of this. So with that, it really just comes down to structure. So when I first started with JBarrows, I actually was sent to Boston, which again, I despise going to Boston because I'm from Atlanta Falcons. I got to see the Patriots banners. It just makes me sick, but that's besides the point. We came there, we actually developed structure of what do we actually need to get done. And throughout this presentation, we're going to show you, hey, we're going to figure out what is that ICP, the personas that you're going after, and understand their challenges and priorities. We're going to develop a messaging off of those personas, and then we're going to create a winning call formula off of that for calling with confidence. And then we're actually going to have objection handling on the upfront, so we're proactive with our objections. And then we're also going to show you how to track that effectively to make sure that what you've created is actually working. Because you don't want to create something and then don't know if it's working or not. That's not good. You have to follow the data and actually execute on top of that. So again, have that lens as we're talking about structure, how you can execute on top of that, and then get the results that you're looking to get. So cool, let's hop into it. So right here is ICP. So again, I mentioned, hey, I was in Boston for a week, and John, like a whiteboard right here, went on the whiteboard and was like, all right, this is our ICP. This is the things that we want to go over. So through that, my assignment when I got there was, hey, Morgan, find out tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 accounts, write it on the board, and what do you think it is? So I wrote up, hey, there's just a couple things that we have, and these are a couple things that we came up with. So SaaS and technology, they have some type of handoff model, so BDR to AE, SDR to AE, LDR, ADR, those terms. What's our ACV? So that's an average. The ACV, if they have that ACV, that's easier for us to sell into because it provides our ROI investment of how much the training costs. Are they growing really fast because our training helps with onboarding effectively? And then also, are we moving up market? So then the inflection point. So essentially there, through that exercise, I was able to determine, okay, cool, that's the level 1 and level 2 information I'm trying to get out of it. And then essentially, my homework assignment when I left Boston was John sent me all the customers that we had. Now, this was a super, super boring exercise. But at the end of the day, the reason I did is actually because I was able to figure out what industries are working, what number of employees, why did they buy, what titles are buying, what was the competition when he was going against those deals, and then also what was the department makeup of what technologies they were using. So I was actually able to leverage that data that I got from my CRM and also from the customers we already closed, and then I utilized and leveraged that on top of the stuff I had already learned. So now I have an incomplete basis of I know my ICP and I know what tiers I'm going after. And so how you allocate these tiers, you see this right here, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, is you have to understand which ones you're calling into. So some organizations are very account-based focused, so they're going to have the tier 1s, the tier 2s, the tier 3s. Some of you may be lead focused and you may not have that as well. It really does depend and it varies. But at the end of the day, what we're really trying to focus on here is tier 1 accounts. So essentially when you're account-based focused, you want to figure out what are the top 25, top 50 accounts I'm going after. So as we go through this framework, we're going to show you, hey, look, there's certain accounts that you're going to allocate time to more than others. So for example, tier 1, I may spend 30 minutes to research those accounts. Tier 2, I have already my segmented messages that I'm sending out to them based on the persona. Tier 3 is a practice model for me. So a lot of these techniques you may be learning today, a different intro, a different value prop, you can practice on a tier 3 account because you know, hey, look, if I get it, great. If I don't, then I don't. You can also, with tier 3s, new objections that you may be facing that you're not handling very well, you can actually put them inside the tier 3 to then handle those objections effectively. So essentially that was the narrative that we went through to figure this out. And then essentially within this, what we really, really tried to focus in on was at the end of the day, with an inflection point that we have, now I understand the companies that I'm targeting, I'm having sales calls with, I'm prospecting. I now know, hey, look, if you have an inflection point, I know that hits home. It's a home run hit for us. That's effective. And now my conversation is better. So by doing this research, individuals as a rep, maybe you don't have a manager yet, or managers and reps are doing this together, because John and I developed this together. We were able to create our ICP and understand the level 1 and level 2 information to effectively reach out to the accounts we're going after. And that, again, is based on tier allocation. So I got my top 50 accounts, my tier 2 accounts that I'm going at volume with, and then my tier 3 accounts. So then essentially from there, now we're going to talk about what is the persona that we're going after. So as you see right here, here's the top personas and then the bottom personas. So with the top personas, as you all know, you want to get to the top. We want to talk to the executives. So when you're talking to executives, you're focused on what values are they trying to get out of it? What results are you going to bring them? Strategic vision and KPIs. And I actually was at a presentation last night, and there was a lady, she had been 30 years of experience in corporate, and she's been a VP and a C-level suite. And she talked about we need to be focused on the KPIs and the results that we can bring to our future customers instead of just focusing on the value prop that we have. So that's where you're focused on the top. You want to do more research and understand the challenges and priorities. So on the bottom, obviously these people are focused on features, functions, and prices. So I'll give you guys an example of where I messed up, and now I'm calling with confidence now as I was before. So when I first joined John, I was very familiar with SDR managers. So our 3 main personas at the end of the day are SDR leaders, SDR, VP of sales development, VP of enablement, and then also VP of sales. So with SDR leaders, I already knew that because I've interviewed tons of SDR leaders. I've been an SDR manager. I get that. 2, VP of sales. John's been a VP of sales, so that's easy for him to talk to, and he currently still is because he manages my pipeline. And then additionally, 3 is sales enablement. I had no idea what sales enablement even meant. So I would contact them and I had no idea what I was saying, and I looked probably pretty silly. So what I did is I used my network and I said, hey guys, I'm new to JBarrows. I have no idea what I'm doing. Can you guys please help me understand what sales enablement means and how it can be applicable for me and my organization as I'm selling this? So I actually had 20, 30 conversations with enablement people, and then I put them in Evernote. And so now I'm actually having a better conversation as a whole moving forward. So now that's actually so easy for me to understand than just not knowing at all. So essentially, you got to figure out what these personas, which personas do you need to be talking to make sure that you're driving value in all their conversations. As an SDR, you're setting quality meetings. As an AE, you're setting up meetings for yourself that are beneficial. And as leaders, you're not targeting people that don't want to buy and they're tire kickers. So essentially, here, the mistake I made was I was reaching out to people below the power line because I was like, I need to schedule as many meetings as possible, right? So I'm doing my thing, hustling, grinding, and I'm scheduling meetings with people below the power line. So SDR leaders, inside sales managers. And through that, what I realized is I was scheduling people below the power line and it wasn't helping me. And John and I were reviewing pipeline and he was like, Morgan, like, why aren't these deals moving? And I was like, well, I mean, I don't know. They told me that they wanted to do this and it's not going anywhere. And he said, okay, the reason that these aren't going anywhere right now is because you're not getting into power. So these people are telling you it looks good, but they go talk to their boss and they basically just like, screw off, kid. So essentially, think about it in my shoes. So I can't sign off anything. Essentially, if I find a product, and my job as an director of evolution and execution is to find new technology to implement that we can use and then leverage and tell other clients about. So if I find a new product and let's say it's like a 10K, 20K product, I can't just be like, oh, cool, I'm the decision maker and sign. I have to go talk to John. So if I just talk to John, it's like, hey, John, this is a cool product. It can help us. And I don't give him context and I'm not able to sell him, then he's going to be like, dude, get out of here, kid. Like, this isn't going to work. So essentially what I realized is that I was actually having phone calls and conversations with people that weren't actually helping me drive velocity to the pipeline and actually close deals, which is why I had to focus on what are the KPIs, what are the challenges and priorities of the people that are above the power line. Because let's think about it this way. So I know a lot of people on this call right now, on this webinar, are afraid of talking to C-level suites and VPs. I was the same way when I first started. I didn't even like cold calling, right? But what I realized is that if you spend the time to understand the KPIs, the challenges and priorities of the people that you're targeting, you'll actually have more quality conversations and your sales cycle will actually be decreased, right? The time to close. And the reason that's going to be decreased is because you're talking to someone who's making the decision. So if you're just setting meetings with people with below the power line, they're just willing to have a conversation, but they're actually not the ones that are going to pull the lever to buy. So essentially, I would rather focus in and study the people that are going to make the decision. So I have a call and then we're moving on. Like just 2 weeks ago, I called someone within the VPC level suite. He enjoyed the cold call. He's like, let's have a conversation. And we end up moving forward like 2-3 weeks later. Now, if I had called someone below the power line, it may have taken 2-3 months. So it's all about the sales velocity with these calls. And we're going to show you how to segment that correctly with the structure that we have in place. So again, we're going to use the VP of Sales Enablement as an example. And as you guys are going to see on this next slide, there is an example of how this works. So as you see on the left, training, coaching, content usage, active selling time, and conversion rates in the funnel. And essentially what I did actually is I did a very simple thing. I used Google. So all I did was Google VP of Sales Enablement priorities in tech SaaS. So essentially what I talked about with the ICP, I knew, hey, tech SaaS is something that we are heavily focused in. So whatever industry you're focused in, you can use that. Healthcare, manufacturing, hardware, et cetera. And then from the VP of Sales Enablement, I typed that in. So what I was doing is I was looking at different feeds in Google and the conversations I had with people I connected with on LinkedIn, and I came up with these challenges and priorities that they have. So now when I come up with my messaging, I know that these are directly correlated priorities and challenges for them, and based on my research that I've done. So this can be applicable for my tier 2 messaging. Now I'm just going to send this as a profile message. So persona-based messaging at scale, not personalization at scale. And for my tier 1 accounts, I'm going to figure out, okay, these are the challenge and priorities that I have. And now I'm going to ask leading indicator questions to then help drive that conversation further. So rephrasing that and looking at this as a whole, you're going to see this slide right here. So as you guys see, there's the lay of the land of how this all works. So we have onboarding new hires in ramp time, reinforcement of training, and tracking our training, right? And so within that, we have the solution, which is the online portal with our fill in the funnel content. So whatever solution that you have to tie it back into the priorities and challenges that you have. So when you're looking at the solution, people on this call right now, you probably have an array of solutions that you're currently looking at. So what you have to do is whatever challenge and priority you find, you got to map that to it, because we're not able to move forward if we don't know what solution we're actively going to sell for. And again, you don't want to throw all your solutions out at once, because that's using everything in your tool belt. So if I called someone and said, so we do 5 things at JBarrows sales training: prospecting, negotiation, meeting execution. We also focus on the components of how to handle objections, and then also closing. So essentially with that, when I have all that in place, I'm not going to send all 5 of those messages at once. That doesn't make any sense. So if I called someone a VP sales, like, hey, we do prospecting and we help with closing, meeting execution, and also objection handling and negotiation and closing, they're gonna be like, wait, what? Like, that's too much information. And also, if they say they're not interested, I've now used all my levers and now I'm out of luck. I can't reach out to that person anymore. So I want everyone to really think about that, is what are the 5 things or 10, whatever solutions that are things that you can say and actually fits within that solution component, so that you actually can reach out to the person with purpose. So again, that's why that lever is right there. Our online portal with our fill in the funnel content helps there. And then additionally, next is the expected result after applying a solution component to it. So after I'm telling you, okay, I know one of your priorities and challenges, here's the solution, I got to tell you what's the result with it, right? It goes back to the personas, is we have to figure out at the top of the power line, what result are we going to do to help them get to where they need to go? So essentially from here, what we're doing is we're figuring out what is that end result going to be. Now, it could be an array of different things, right? So an example would be, hey, look, so we have faster ramp time and immediate results based on proven techniques. So that's in a result. If someone asks, okay, so what's the solution or challenge going to be? That's the thing that we're going to look at. So by looking at that, now it's going to be super simple for us to execute on that. And now I'm way more confident when I'm on the phone that I know what result it's going to tie to. And it's not more so it's where reps just get a script and they're like, here, read this, or they get a structure and it's like, this is the reason. I actually know why I'm actually calling with a purpose based on the priority and challenge. So now if they ask me some type of question, or they're like, okay, so what's going to happen? Boom, I can say, hey, well, you faster ramp time and immediate results based on proven techniques. And then from there, to wrap it all up, while you're developing that messaging, is you're gonna have your attention grabber. So your attention grabber is, hey, VP of Sales Enablement, whose priority is onboarding new hires, use our online content or portal with our fill in the funnel content to drive faster ramp time with proven techniques that drive immediate results. So right there, I'm more so saying, hey, these are what other people have said that are the same persona as you, which is highly impactful and highly valuable. Because if you're calling anyone, at the end of the day, we all know what happens, right? You call someone, they answer pretty happy, like, oh, hi. And then you go into your intro, and then all of a sudden you hear the energy drop down, and like, oh, hey, what do you want? So they immediately don't want to talk to you. And so to get back on the same playing field as them, because then you're fighting an uphill battle, to be on the same plane as them, the main thing you have to focus on here is how can I say what someone else is doing or someone else got results from that's the same peer as them, and to leverage that. So even going further with attention grabbers and why they're important is because you're not going to get much time to illustrate your value prop. You're not. So you got to come out with something that's going to grab someone's attention and have a conversation. And it really breaks down to one of our formulaic approaches, which is AIDA. So it's from Glenn Glarier and Ross, if you've seen that movie, attention, interest, desire, and action. So with these attention grabbers, we want to make sure that we're getting interest and desire so that we actually get people, when we have our call to actions, to get them to take action, right? So that's why the attention grabber is there. And that's why we're developing all the way from our challenge all the way to the attention grabber, which is super critical and super important. So really focus in on that, guys, is what are the clients, what are your customers saying, and what results they're getting from it so that you can use that as attention grabber, and it makes it easier. And so again, when I'm calling VP of Sales Enablement, hey, look, we're doing this exactly with you. I talked to someone last week about this, right? I had a conversation just 2 weeks ago, and I used the same value prop, and I had a better conversation because they were like, oh, wait, cool. So just a psychology thing. It's like, wait, other people are using this the same role as me. I need to pay attention. Instead of saying, hey, we're the leading provider and we do this, nobody cares about that, right? But they do care about what their other peers are doing because nobody wants to fall behind. And that's what it really comes down to when we're developing these messages. So next, after we develop the attention grabber, right? So we're going throughout this process, we got to figure out what questions we're asking. So here, these are really critical. And a lot of people miss this. So when you're developing a message, what happens is people just say the value prop. So if I'm like, hey, VP of Sales Enablement, use our online portal to receive immediate results. So when the reps come out of boot camp, they're ready to go. And if I just say that and I don't say anything, the prospect's just going to be like, okay, like, so what? Like, how's it helping me? And I did that literally yesterday on a call. I was coming off a red-eye flight, and I was on my call, and I just went with the value prop, and I forgot to ask the leading question. And guess what happened? The person was silent just as me, and then I had to realize, oh shoot, I got to ask my leading question to then kind of revamp that conversation again. And a lot of reps do that. They're like, okay, here's the value prop, but the prospect's not going to guide themselves. So I want you guys to really think about this. Sheep, right? So the shepherd's got to guide the sheep to the water, right? They're not going to essentially go there by themselves. So as sales reps, professionals, and leaders, we need to teach our reps that we need to be the shepherds of our prospects to get them to the value prop to understand what we're talking about. Because if you're just a shepherd chilling by the tree and you're just like, oh, well, you know, I hope that they do it, that's not going to be beneficial because they're not just going to answer like, oh, I'm so excited. They're not doing backflips. They already don't want to talk to you. It's a cold call, right? So essentially what we have to do here is we have to develop these leading questions so we can lead the prospects to the water, which is the value prop that we're trying to give them. So here's an examples right here, 3 frameworks you can use. How are you currently addressing training and coaching? So that'd be a leading question that I would ask at the value prop. Or where are you in achieving active selling time? Right? How are you making sure that people are having more active selling time instead of, you know, wasting time with doing other manual tasks? And then I could also ask, like, how happy are you with your current training solution, your enablement solution? So those are examples off the cuff of what stuff that I use that I actually implement as a leading question based off my value prop. So again, I want you all to think about as you're developing these messages, what's the leading question that you can provide so that your prospect gets them thinking, and then also it's open-ended that they tell you that information that you can then layer on top of to then actually get the meeting and the call to action, right? So we got all that staged out. We got our value props. We got our attention grabbers, right? We have our leading questions. Now what we're going to move into is how are we actually going to create that and then call with confidence? What's the framework behind that? So as you guys see right here, this is going to be the winning call. I'm going to call this the winning call formula, right? So as you see right here, this is what we're going to use to make sure that we're leveraging and then having a conversation. But before that, we want to talk about the common objections that you may face, right? So we talked about how being proactive in that. So essentially right here, when you're looking at this, these are the common objections that most people face on the phone. So these are probably the main 4. There's probably 5. And obviously, again, I don't know every single person's organization, their insights, their use cases, but essentially with these objections, you normally get these. We're all set. I'm not interested. This isn't a priority for us right now. We already seen a solution in place, like send me information, right? All these, so you guys know, are brush offs. This is what the prospect, we've conditioned our prospects to brush us off, and then we accept it and we don't challenge them in a way of telling, no, I'm calling you for a reason. I didn't just find you on the floor and it just said call Sally. It's like, no, I actually built out a whole prospecting engine to actually target you, and I got a reason why I'm calling you. I know I may be interrupting you, but I'm here for a reason. Let's have a conversation. So again, you guys are probably going to face these objections. So essentially what we like to stage here is get proactive about your objections. Don't just sit there and be like, oh, cool, well, I hope I don't face that objection today. Figure out how to answer it effectively so that you can convert that opportunity. So let's talk about that. So common objections. We're all set. I'm not interested. Great. So when someone says that, I know I'm going to say, hey, good to hear that you're all set. What are you currently all set with? Right? Or what is an internal solution that you're currently working on right now that you're all set with, right? So you really got to figure out why they're saying we're all set, I'm not interested. Or you can do another route, like I like to do, is you're not interested right now? Okay, I understand that. However, can you give me 30 seconds to explain my value prop? And with that 30 seconds of the value prop, if you're interested, we can move forward and set time on the calendar, or you can hang up and tell me no. So I actually use that a lot because 30 seconds isn't that long, and you should be able to do your value prop based on what we just saw here, the attention grabber and the question, to actually convert into a meeting. So I always use that. And even it's funny enough, actually, when I was a SDR at Terminus, I did the same thing. I literally said, this guy was like, I'm not interested. I was like, you know what? Pull out a timer, 30 seconds. I'll give you the value prop. Time on the calendar if you like it. You can hang up if you don't. And it worked. I got time on the calendar. So the big thing is you got to challenge the prospect. It's 30 seconds. They got 30 seconds. They answer the phone, right? They got some time. So that's what you need to do there. And someone says we're all set or I'm not interested, to set the stage. Because you got to figure out, why are you not interested, or like, why are you all set? Especially if they didn't even give you a chance to talk. That's why I like using that 30-second clip so I can go deeper into it. Because I'm not going to let the prospect just brush me off, but I haven't even told you the value prop yet. So those are ways to handle that one. We're all set. I'm not interested. This isn't a priority for us. So this one you'll probably get a lot. Hey, look, man, like, hey, Morgan, this isn't a priority for us right now. This may not happen until later, right? Maybe say 9 to 6 months, 3 months. So what I always do, let's just say they say that this isn't a priority for us right now, right? So I'll give you guys a nugget here. If they say that, I always ask, okay, what are the main 3 projects you're working on? Or if you want to say it a different way, what are the main 3 priorities that you're currently working on this quarter? So by me asking that question, now I can figure out, what are you currently working on? You can't answer yes or no to that question. You have to answer it, or you could be like, I'm not going to tell you. And if you're not going to tell me, I probably don't want to work with you in the first place, and you're not going to be a good person to work with in the sales cycle. So essentially, let's go into that. What are the main 3 projects? What are the main 3 priorities? From that, now I can figure out whatever main 3 priorities or projects that they have, I now can execute and layer value on top of that. Whatever they say. Normally, one of those 3, I can actually do that. Or if it's none of those, it's like, okay, great. It looks like these 3 priorities that you're working on right now don't actually correlate with our solution at the time. However, when do you believe that you're working on this project or this priority? That ties into your solution. So now they're going to give you an answer like, oh, we're actually working on that project in the next quarter. And then now you have an appropriate context to not just touch base and check in. You're actually following up with the right amount of information that's actually going to convert into something. So that's why I use that one. Another one you can use, let's say that this isn't a priority for us right now. So they say reach back in a month, 3 months, 6 months. So I normally ask people this. Okay, cool. So you told me to reach out. Let's say I called someone today, right? They say, hey, reach back out to me in Q1. Great. Okay, so what's going to change between now and January? So based on how they answer that question, then I can layer value on top of that. Okay, cool. So you said that you're working on this, or you said that you guys are developing this or hiring someone new. All I'm looking for is context out of that call. Because really, the reason I'm asking these deep layer questions, the open-ended questions, is because eventually they're going to tell me to reach back out again with some context. So if they're telling me to reach back out again, at least I want to have some reason to reach back out. And I'll go deep inside in a minute, but I want to give you guys one more way to handle that objection. So let's say, okay, cool, this isn't a priority for us right now. Reach out in 3 to 6 months. So I always go, okay, cool. So in 3 months, are you looking to implement? Or are you looking to evaluate? Really think about that question. Are you looking to implement? Or are you looking to evaluate? So if they're looking to implement in 3 months, then all right, so that means that we need to have a conversation today, because that means that there are already people in play. I may be a little bit late to the party, but at least I can be involved. So we need to have that conversation, because if you follow up in 3 months and they say, oh, we bought someone and you didn't ask that implement question, you're going to feel bad about that one. Let's say if they're looking to evaluate, cool. That means I'll probably reach out in 3 months. And then when people say that, I say, hey, look, so can we set a tentative time in 3 months so that we can actually have a conversation in 3 months, so I'm not chasing you? And if they say, hey, follow me in 3 months, like there's no need for that. There's 2 questions I ask on top of that. One is, okay, so when I reach back out in 3 months, what subject line should I be sending you so that you respond to me in 3 months? And then additionally, I say the reason that I do that is I don't want to be the annoying sales rep that continuously follows up with you with emails and calls, which means I will follow up with you with continuous emails and calls because you told me to reach out in 3 months, right? It's okay to tell me no, right? And at the end of that, I say, does that sound fair to you? So the reason I say, does that sound fair to you, psychology standpoint, no one wants to be unfair. So when I say that, they're like, okay, cool. That means it's fair. Cool. Here's the subject line. This is the reason I should reach back out. Maybe they'll give me the tentative time because they know I'm going to be an annoying sales rep, and they don't want that. And I preface that always. So again, that's how you handle that one. Let's go to the next one. We already have a solution in place. Again, this is a real quick question. A real quick way to handle it is, hey, look, we already have a solution in place. Be like, hey, look, what solution do you have in place, right? You can use the 1 to 10 barometer. Hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you currently liking your solution? Or you can say, hey, I realize you have the solution right now. And then on top of when they tell you what the solution is and its competitor, handle that accordingly with whatever the competitors you have. Of course, you're going to probably have that data on how to handle that objection accordingly. And then if someone says, hey, we have a solution in place, you can be like, hey, I know you have a solution in place. Happy to hear you actually have something, right? Then nothing. And then you can say right there, like, what gaps are you currently looking to fill that your solution currently is not? So those are some ways you can handle that there. And then send me information. So this is probably one that a lot of people get. And I was very frustrated with this one at first because when I first started, I was like, oh, send me information. Great. So I would craft up a beautiful email. I'm high-fiving people. I'm excited. And they never let me know. They never called me back. And they never emailed me. I know you guys feel the same page as me. So I'm about to give you guys the ways to handle that so that you get people to call you back and you actually get people to respond to you. So here we go. So 2 things. One is, this is what we do at JBarrows sales training. This is what the framework that we teach people. Hey guys, so when someone says that, say, hey, look, what would you like to see? Why would you like to see it? And when would you like to see it? Those 3 things that you ask. Whatever they give you, great. So then you craft up that email, you send it out to them. And then you always ask on the end of that to make sure it's like, hey, so with all this information, I'm going to make sure I send that to you whenever they said. When is the best time for me to follow up on this information to see if we can move forward with the next steps, which is an introductory call. So you can either go for the ask right there, or you can just go for the next steps of when to actually reach back out to them. So again, that's the JBarrows sales training ethos. That's what we believe in there. And again, the reason that you're asking those questions is because if someone can't answer what they want, why they want it, or when, then that's probably not a good prospect for them, and they're not really interested, and they're just trying to blow you off or brush off. And our time is valuable as sales professionals and leaders guiding our sales professionals. We don't want to waste time on that. So that's why I'm going to dissuade that person away, because I don't want to have that conversation with someone who is not interested in trying to blow me off and wasting my time writing an email. Let me know if you have interest or not, and I'll craft that for you. But if you're not, just let me know, because at the end of the day, if someone says, send me whatever, I'm like, great, I can blow up your inbox with all the blogs and insights that we have. I don't want to do that. Can you tell me what you're looking for? That's why we ask that question there. And then essentially another one you can use, so this one that I like using is, hey, I understand that, you want to see some information before you hop on the call. However, I've talked to a lot of VP of sales enablement professionals like yourself, and they told me that I actually find it very beneficial if I send the information to them and we actually set up a 20-30 minute call to review that information so that we can actually talk about how we can build a use case for you moving forward. So with that being said, I got my calendar open. Does next Thursday at 5:00 p.m. work for you? So that's what I do there. And the reason I do that is because I'm acknowledging that they want them to send me information. I will send them information. So it's a give-get, right? I'm giving you information, but in return, I need something out of this call, which is either we're going to set up time to review this, or you're going to tell me another time that we can do it later. Because as you all know, if you get someone on the phone, that's precious time, and we don't want to lose that precious time. We want to make sure that we can execute on that and not falter. So that's why I use that objection, because I want to set time and I want to get you on the calendar, but I don't want to send you information and then I have to continuously follow up with you. That's why I'm going in for the assumptive close of being like, yo, I got my calendar open already. Does this time work? So now you got to figure out, you're going to brush me off or you're just going to accept it. So those are ways, again, that you can handle objections. Again, these are just common ones that everyone has. But again, you can come up with your own within your organization, and you can use this as a framework to make sure that you're being effective across the board. So let's go into, okay, so how do we actually build this, guys? The winning call. So powerful introduction, the reason for your call to actions, and also the voicemail. So let's dive into this. So essentially, the powerful introduction is the most important because you only have 2 to 3 seconds, maybe 5 seconds to get someone's attention before they hang up. Now, this is actually funny because I was making calls this morning and my introduction is, hi, let's say, hi, Bob, thanks for taking my call. Do you have a few moments? Normally, no one just straight up says no, but a guy this morning straight up did tell me no. He's like, no, I don't do cold calls, and hung up, which is ironic because it was a VP of sales, but it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I love this intro because it gives you the value prop and it actually gives you the confidence and it gives you the bridgeway to go into your value prop. So I'll give you an example. Hi, Bob, thanks for taking my call. You have a few moments. So let's just say that he says these things. Who are you? Depends on who you are, how much time I'm going to give you. No, but what do you want? Or what do you want? Doesn't matter. As long as I don't say straight up no and hang up, you're in. And so the reason that that works is now because they've given you the right, like I said, the alleyway to then go in the value prop. While you're going in that value prop, as a rep, and even leaders, as you listen to these calls, they won't be rushed and you won't be rushed. You will actually say things with confidence and you'll exude that confidence and you won't feel like you're being straight up rushed. Because when you make a call and someone's like, how you doing? And they're like, good. And you always feel like, okay, I'm Morgan Ingram from JBarrows sales training and we do this. It's just, you don't feel like you're in the conversation. But if someone gives you the right to have a few minutes to chat, I'm now, okay, the reason for my call is I'll talk to other VP sales emails like yourself, XYZ, call to action. So that's why I do that powerful intro. Now, again, on this call, I know there's a lot of people have different introductions. I used this introduction that was a weak introduction. I'll tell you why I believe it's weak is, let's say it's, hi, Bob, how are you doing today? I think that's a weak introduction for a lot of reasons is because, first of all, you don't even care how they're doing. That's first and foremost, right? Next is you're just going in a situation that's not going to work. Essentially is what I'm trying to say there. Because let's say if you're calling someone up north, so the people that are on the call right now, Boston, New York, Chicago, you guys will be nodding your head at this. If someone calls you and they say, hi, Bob, how are you doing today? You're going to be like, what? And then most reps, like I was when I called in New York and Boston, because I wasn't ready for this. I was like, oh, well, and I hung up. And I was just like, I don't even want to deal with that person. That person's rude and mean. I don't even have the call right now, right? So that's what I'm saying. I don't like that introduction because it may not work based on different geographic reasons. And also it leaves you at a bad spot. If they don't say they're doing good, they can be saying they're doing bad. And then also essentially you don't care. And I also know that if you call people in the South, like I'm from Atlanta, they'll be like, how you doing, sugar? How you, like, they're going to be fired up, right? So if I said, how you doing today to anybody in the South, will work, but other places it may not. Another one that is bad, let's stay away from this, is this a good time? It's never a good time for calling anybody out of the blue. Like, you call me out of the blue, it's not going to be a good time. Even though I picked it up, it's still not a good time, right? I'm sorry to bother you. You're already bothering someone with the value, with calling them. Just go into it. And the next thing is touching base and checking in, which we should eliminate from our vocabulary if we're calling someone, which is why it goes into this. We need to have a reason for the call. So every single time that I go into my introduction and my value prop, so let's say, go back to the introduction. Hey, Bob, thanks for taking my call. Do you have a few moments? I'm going right into it once they let me. Hi, this is Morgan Ingram from JBarrows Sales Training. The reason for my call is, the reason I do that, right, is because I have to have some type of reason to call somebody. If I don't have a reason to call somebody, I shouldn't be calling. That's why it's there. It allows you to reiterate your value prop. So again, it goes back into whatever challenge and priority that you developed. We talked about that earlier, what solution you're trying to solve, what's the expected result. That's what's going to be after what you say after the reason for my call. And you guys see it right here on the screen, trigger and priority attention grabber. We've already talked about those. So now you're just going to insert that right into the reason for my call list. And then next, what's the call to action? So again, it could be something in your email that's effective, right? And actually, for all you that maybe have a sales engagement tool and you can see the metrics, you can actually easily plug in your attention grabbers that are already working with the emails that are getting replies, and then use that just on the phone. You're already seeing results through written form. You might as well do it through an audio form. So that's just a little nugget right there. But going back to my point, call to actions. So what are you telling them to do? All right, do you want them to be on a 30-minute call, a 60-minute call? Are you asking them to meet you at an event, a webinar? I don't know what you're asking them to do, but you need to make sure that it's deliverable. So for me, I always know I have to lead somebody somewhere. Hey, look, the next step here is a 20-30 minute introductory call that I can schedule next week or the following week. And I always ask, this is super important. This is a hidden gem right here. This is a nugget. When you're calling someone and you're scheduling time with them, always ask, do mornings or afternoons work best for you? Because this is gonna help you decrease your no-show rate, right? or whatever it is, no-show rate. You want to make sure that people actually do show up, right? So essentially there, it's like, we want to make sure that when we're calling someone, we fit in their time that works for them. I always ask, hey, morning or afternoons, what are best for you? Now I have all my meetings allocated in the afternoon, but I always ask that just in case, because I don't want someone to no-show me on the first meeting after I finally got them on the phone and that time didn't work for them. So always, that's a little nugget there. Always ask that. But essentially, get your call to actions together, figure out what that's going to be, because you don't want to, again, just do a value prop. That was great. You asked a great question. And then you don't set up, hey, they're the next steps while I'm calling you today. And then next, let's go into the contact information or the call and basically the voicemails. So here, what you want to do with voicemails is you always want to have your name at the end, right? You don't want to say your name at the beginning, because this goes back into psychology, and this just goes back into what everyone else is doing. Everyone else in the world is going, hi, this is Morgan from JBarrows Sales Training. You know, the reason I'm calling you today, literally once I say, hi, I'm Morgan from JBarrows Sales Training, even if you've heard of that before, you may listen a little bit longer, but you probably won't, because you're just going to treat it as another sales call. So that's going to go in the trash can. Delete. We don't want that. We want people to listen to us all the way through. I'll give you guys an example. So here we go. Let's keep picking on Bob. So, hi, Bob. The reason for my call today is I talked to a lot of VP of sales enablement like yourself, and we focus on training that has techniques that focuses on the prospecting and also the negotiation and closing aspects of the training that actually sees consistent results. So if that resonates in a way, Bob, I'd love to have a conversation with you. My name is Morgan J. Ingram from JBarrows Sales Training. Once again, my name is Morgan J. Ingram from JBarrows Sales Training. And I do two variants here. So I A/B test these, and you guys can use this accordingly how you guys see it. But I'll be like, hey, no need to call me back. I'm actually going to send you an email after this, and you can review it and you can reply. Or I'll be like, hey, call me back, 678-358-8249. Either or work. And the reason that I like being proactive is because it gets them something to look forward to. So on your voicemails, be proactive, not reactive. Don't be like, hey, Bob, I sent you 4 emails and 5 calls, and I sent you 3 direct mails, and I'm trying to meet you at an event and you didn't answer me. That's not going to work, and you're being too aggressive there, and you're talking about failed attempts. We don't want to talk about failed attempts, but I'll give you an example of when I do that. But we don't want to do that. What we want to do is be proactive. Hey, I'm about to send you a video. Check it out. I'm about to send you a direct mail. Check it out. I'm going to be at this event. Meet me at the booth. Be proactive so that when you send them something, they're looking forward to do something and not have to retrack. Only time I retrack is, let's say if I send a video out to someone and I see they viewed it 100%, I'm straight up like, hey, Bob, like, I saw you watch the video 100%. Call me back. Like, you watched it all the way through, so there's some interest there. You probably got busy, but that's the only time I'm really going to be intentional on that. But for the most part, let's be proactive in our voicemails and then leave our name at the end. So all of this comes together from the beginning of the narrative of, hey, we're developing all these personas. I came up with all the challenging priorities. I now got my attention grabbers. I got my objections in place. Now, how are we going to track this and measure it? So let's look at this right here. So you got to put your name. Okay, who are you, right? Target, contact, or title. So for us, in this example, guys, it'd be the VP of Sales Enablement, right? Priorities and challenges. So onboarding new reps, ramping, right? That's one right there. Powerful introduction. So again, you guys see the powerful introduction right there? Hi, Bob. Thanks for taking my call to you in a few moments. You see right there, the reason for my call right there. So that actually right there, after you saw the reason for the call, you're going to go into the value prop, right? We talked about the attention grabber, your trigger. That's where that's going to go. So whatever you decide to do there, that's what you're going to put. Next is the call to action. So you see that right there. What's the best way to get 15 minutes on your calendar to discuss this? Maybe, hey, who's the best person to talk to? Maybe you're talking to someone that's above the power line, their C-level suite. C-level suite, unless it's obviously an SMB type of company, is not going to be on the first call, but they can be that strong internal reference for you to have a good conversation with the point of contact, the POC, to then move forward in the right direction. So keep that in mind as a call to actions. Again, I might just lead someone straight to the calendar and be like, hey, I got this calendar already open. Let's talk. Depends on how your flow is. It goes back to art. How do you want to stage that? Next is, okay, the voicemail. So as you see right here, this all actually flows into the voicemail. So your value prop already with your call structure is going already to your contact information. So again, this is just added at the end. So then you can use this one as one succinct flow so that mostly, I know most sales reps, you have 2 screens. So you can put this as a 2 screener, and now you have that as your reference. And now you can just use that as the voicemail at the end. And that's all you have to do. And then as you see right there, objections. So what objections do you guys have, right? Write those down. What are those 3? And then what's your response? So that, again, you're not fumbling through like, oh, well, I don't know. No, come up with the actual thing that you need to be doing so then you can get that result, right? So essentially, gotta go back here. So essentially you can get that result because at the end of the day, we don't wanna have something where we're, again, just going through the motions. It's not helpful. We want to make sure that we can articulate the value prop there and do what we need to do. So essentially, I'm sorry, slides got messed up there. But essentially, as we're looking at this right now, we're trying to make sure that when we're having a conversation around our objections, that we can answer them with confidence. Because actually, I just did a training, was it 2 days ago, and was talking to the VP of sales, and she was like, hey, look, at the end of the day, like if someone isn't answering my objections with confidence and they're squeamish or they're weak, I'm not really confident that you're confident in your solution. So why would I be confident in it? Why would I hop on a demo with you? Why would I waste my time? Time's our most valuable asset. So be confident in what you're saying. Most people throw an objection at you just to see if you can stand your ground. This is why we have to have these responses already practically in place so that we can answer them right there. And then on the right, you guys see this? Calls, referrals, meetings. So let's say that you put 50 people into this. We're calling it by persona. So I'm putting 50 sales enablement leaders, right? Let's say over the course of a week or 2 weeks, whatever it is. And now I can track, okay, I made 50 calls to a sales enablement person. And I got 2 referrals, and I got 5 meetings. Cool. All right. So I did let's say I do another approach, right? I got a VP of sales enablement again, but my stuff on the left is different. My challenging part is different. Let's say I make 50 calls again. Like I said, I get 1 referral, 1 meeting. Okay, maybe I should not do that approach anymore, right? So it goes back to A/B testing, split testing. But this sheet, this structure allows you to really figure out what you need to be doing in order to be successful in what you're doing when you're making calls. So again, that's the lay of the land there. That's how you track it. Make sure that you're segmenting out. Maybe it's 25 people, 50 people, but you have to have a volume size. I believe 50 to 100 really figure out if it works. Because what most people do is you'll be like, oh, this is a great webinar. I'm super fired up. You'll make 10 calls and be like, this doesn't work. You can't do that. Do it at least 50 times, see if it works. And then if it keeps working, continuously do it, and then go to 100, go to 150. You can't just A/B test and split test with just 10 examples. That's not good. Do more than that. That's why the tracker's on there on the right to make sure you can figure out what referrals and also how you're setting up your meetings. Cool. So that's the whole lay of the land right there. That's from the beginning to end on how you create that call structure that you'll be able to handle objections. You're getting confidence out of what you're doing, and you're building that framework. So essentially, as we move forward to the next slide here, and as we're wrapping up this entire webinar here, these are the key takeaways I want you guys to think about. Okay, we talked about, hey, how to define your targeted contacts and accounts. So what's your ICP? What are your personas? I know some organizations, you already have that, so go reread those and figure out how you're gonna create messages off of that. Or if you don't have that, go develop that. Or if you have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 account-based segmentation, go figure that out within your organization. So we talked about that today, so now you have equipped with the knowledge. Developing messaging for your calls. So what are you saying with your value prop from a value standpoint, right? And then now you're just gonna take that and insert it inside the attention grabber. And then next is creating a winning call formula for yourself. So now you know from my introduction to my value prop to my call to action, I know exactly what to say. So now you're not coming on calls like manager's looking over you, you're like, what am I doing? You're just like, no, I'm calling with confidence. I'm here on the phone. Let's get some meetings, guys. Let's get some energy going here. Keep dialing. And then measuring impact. So you can see we've said some really awesome stuff today, but you got to make sure that there's some impact you're measuring it, because you could use this and then not track it and be like, leader comes back 2 months later and like, oh, remember we did that webinar and we created that call script? What happened? Oh, well, we've been getting some meetings, but I don't know how many calls I made. I don't know the conversion rates. That's not helpful because that's not scalable. And leaders, as you all know, they're on this webinar today, you're not going to be able to give that to new reps that are getting onboarded. So you're just kind of like, some people said it worked, some people didn't. Please measure the impact so that you know this works for our organization. We're getting meetings off of this, and we know this works, right? And then next is calling with confidence. This has tremendously increased my confidence on the phone. Again, I have been confident on the phone before, and I had some type of structure in place. But with this newfound way of looking at it, I just can answer objections better. I have better leading questions. Again, is this a silver bullet? No. Again, I still make mistakes on a call. Like I said, I made a mistake on a call yesterday, and it still happens. I got bulldozed this morning, right? It happens. But this is going to help you be more confident, and will help you schedule more meetings on top of the emails, social touches, and videos that you're doing. So with all that being said, guys, let's get to the last slide. With all that being said here, we have a ton of stuff that we went over. There's a ton of stuff that you guys are gonna have impact on. Really do appreciate it. Thank you guys for showing up to the webinar today. I know that there's a good amount of stuff in the chat. We're going to try to answer them, before we have 10 minutes later. As I said, not much time for Q&A, but I want to give you guys the most fire value possible to make sure you guys are calling with confidence and you keep dialing. But a couple housekeeping items here, call to action here. So essentially that link right there, the jbarrows.com/cold calling webinar, that's where you can get the materials for today. So the templates are there, the ones that we showed you today, the cold calling structure, and also essentially the templates on how you actually develop the challenges and the priorities, things of that nature. We're building something on this, so stay tuned. But check these templates out and start utilizing them. We're actually building a new offering off of this, so I will be actually personally delivering how to actually do this effectively with your teams. So we actually recently did this with the team, and we saw 4 meetings on the on-site right there. And then essentially we had a rep who's 10 meetings scheduled through the phone the next week after this training. So this training this training works, this structure works. This is why I'm excited about it, because people are getting results, and we're gonna have this unveiling of a new offering. So it'll be the Keep Dialing offering. And if you want to schedule time with me to talk more about that, you go to that link. And then also community. So we actually have a Facebook group, really active. It's really awesome. John and I are there in there answering questions. And if you guys need any questions answered there that maybe aren't being answered on LinkedIn, if you message me or emailing John, we're in there being active, and there'll be more content actually put in that Facebook group. So again, you guys see that link right there, jbarrows.com/cold calling webinar. I think Lucas will probably put that inside the chat as I see it kind of blowing up there. But guys, check that out. Again, templates are in there for you guys to execute on this immediately. And if you have any questions about this, obviously you can link and message me. You guys know I'm accessible. 2, on-site workshop. You want to talk about how we can do this for your organization, get those live. Feedback right there, live calling. We're going through the calls. We're having live coaching. You can schedule time with me to talk about that. And then the community, Facebook, come join with us there and let's talk about it. So questions, I'm going to go through the chat real quick. I'm going to answer a couple questions while we're here and see what you guys had questions on. So I'm going to stop sharing here, and then I'm going to dive into a couple questions here. So here we go. All right, so Samir had a question. How can you be successful in your cold outreach if the value prop isn't competent? For example, the sun set on Nokia and Blackbeard because of their value prop and not the sales folk. So you're saying if the value prop isn't competent? So I think really, hopefully I'm answering your question in the right way. So hopefully I am, and let me know if I'm not. But essentially what I'm thinking here is you just need to really think about your customers and why they're buying. So if you can't figure out maybe a challenge of priorities, you do Google, you're not able to find the stuff, I honestly would just go ahead and just look at customer success. Like, they have all the answers for the most part. They know why people are actually seeing results. So I'd actually create value props off of that and just say, hey, look, our customers, they bought this because of this. They bought it because of this experience, this feel. You can sell on emotion essentially through a cold call, right? So I would just go in through customer success, figure out some value props there and do that. That's essentially what I did with a lot of the value props and messaging I have today. I just took different reasons why people bought John Barrows or JBarrows sales training, and then I just took it and just used it as messaging. That's all I essentially did. So hopefully, Samir, that answers your question. That's what I would do. So if you want to talk about it a little more, though, we can hop on LinkedIn about it. So next is Brennan asks, is this a good time? Wouldn't that be the same intro as do you have a few minutes? What makes them different? So the reason it makes it different is because if you're asking someone, is this a good time? You're saying it directly. It's more direct of like, is this a good time? It's not. Do you have a few minutes to chat? You gotta think about that a little bit. And also I'm coming in unannounced, and I'm also provoking curiosity. So when I'm saying, hey, you have a few minutes to chat, and it doesn't matter what you say, I can still go in the value prop. With, is this a good time? You could just be like, no, and then it's nothing. That's essentially what I mean there, is that I'm thanking you, which is obviously giving you the value prop there to be like, we're good. And do you have a few moments to chat? You got to think about that a little bit more, because I'm not directly saying it's a good time. I'm just saying, do you have a few minutes to chat? Because if you do, boom, I can come with the value prop. But also it gives me more avenues to then give my value prop. I hope that answers your question there. Cool. So how long do you tend to spend on the phone? How many questions? Oh, this is actually a really good question. So if someone is asking a ton of questions, I in the past would answer all of them. I no longer do that. What I do is you get 3 questions and you're out. This is highly applicable for new reps. So new reps, I'm gonna give you this example because maybe there's some new reps in here or leaders about to get new reps. Use this. This is what I use as a new SDR. So I'd be like, hey, look, these are great questions. I'm writing all these questions down, but I'm actually not as equipped to answer these questions. So I'm actually going to hand it off to an account executive, and he'll be able to answer these better than me because I'm new in my role here. When would be the best time to set that up so that we can get all your questions answered? That's what I would do there. Let's say that you're an a more experienced rep. So what I would do is I'd be like, hey, look, these are some great questions. I actually have written them all down, and I actually find it best, the prospects or clients that I've talked to actually answer these questions on the call so I can figure out your use case and provide context of what I'm saying. I can give you the answers, but they may not be as applicable to your organization, and I want to make sure that it is. So let's set up a 20, 30-minute call. And again, I've written these down to make sure that we actually can answer them on the forefront as soon as the call starts. So I hope that answers your questions there. Those are ways I would handle that to make sure that we do that. And then also at the end of the call, if someone, after I got them agreed to a meeting, I ask those ending qualification questions because they've already said, I've agreed to a meeting, right? They're like, yep, I'm good. Now you're on a level playing field now. So you can ask as many questions as you want, just don't go overboard. Will they be recording this? Robert, yes. So everyone that attended today, if you go to the link and sign up for the jbarrows.com/cold calling webinar, you can actually go in and you'll get the recording of today. So if you came in and you watched it, you will get that recording. How do you make sure you're not sounding scripted on the phone? It really comes down into tone. So essentially, again, you're gonna have to just really memorize the script. Or the structure, you will sound a little bit like you're scripted when you first start, especially if you're a newer rep or you're just trying something out new because you're not comfortable with it. But just like with anything, riding a bike or anything of that nature, it's really gonna be able to figure out, you're gonna be able to figure out how to actually do that in the right way. So again, it comes back with repetitive nature, and more so I just have it normally in the corner of my screen, but essentially I'm always trying to be authentic as possible, and I have it as a tone of me. So I just say it how I normally say it and come out with a verbiage. So that's how I do it there. What percentage of time would you reckon spending above the power line? So this is how I do it. I spend above, okay, cool, that's a good question. So Joey, normally what I do above the power line is I try to do as much as I can above that. So I'll go reach out to them first, and I'll maybe send 4 or 5 contacts or outreach methods to them. And then after I'm done with that contact strategy, I'll go to the next person below the power line, and I keep going down. I always start at the top because I know if I can get an answer there, it's gonna make the conversation easier for me. But if I know someone or met someone at an event, like I'm not gonna be like, oh, you're not empowered, I don't want to talk to you. Like obviously I'll have the conversation, but I always try to start at the top because I know that referral is gonna be the strongest. Do you ever use multimedia to supplement a call, like emailing over testimonials? Yes, Paul, yes, I do. So again, it goes back to when they say send me information. If they tell me that that's what they want, then I absolutely, or I said something on a call where it's like, hey, we got someone scheduled 10 meetings off of this, and they're like, we need proof. Great, I'll send that over as well. So Paul, it just more so is, do they want the multimedia stuff? I'm not gonna send you content if you don't want it, because that's another give that I'm giving you that you didn't ask for. It's like giving someone a discount when they ask for a discount. Like that's not smart. So more so I just see what they want and then I'll send that to them after. Cool. So I'm working most of the time, CLO folks or decision makers refer me down. Yeah, so that's fine. That's what you want. You want the referral down. So just handle it accordingly. If they say, hey, reach out to this person, my talk track normally is great. Let's say, hey, you need to go talk to Sarah. Great. So what's the best way I can reach out to Sarah? Hey, he gives me the contact information, gives me the phone number. And then I say, make sure you do this. This is super important when you do this. Hey, so I'm going to reach out to Sarah. Is it okay if I CC you on this email so that there's a point of reference? Great. Yeah, Morgan, you can CC me on the email. And then I'll send an email that says, hey, your colleague suggested we connect. So that's what I do there. There's a couple questions I want to answer. Okay, if you can type the question, what Justin had a really good question, and I cannot find his question. Apparently he is the person that I need to answer, but I have to find the question. So Justin, can you repost that question? I copy and paste it so I can find it. Apparently it's a fire question that I need to answer. Is this it? Okay. What's your strategy for getting through a gatekeeper that's asking why you're calling or is he expecting your call? Yes. Okay. Literally had this answer like 2 days ago. This is, you can play around with this one, right? So here we go. So I want you guys to understand this. This is super important. There's a difference between a gatekeeper and an executive assistant. So if it's an executive assistant, I'm going straight to the value prop, like, hey, because they actually hold the calendar of that executive. And I go straight into it and like, hey, look, so at the end of the day, Like, this is what I'm looking to do. Here's the value prop. This is some research that I found, and I'm trying to get time on the calendar because I know this is going to affect the business. We'll get results. So that's what I would do for an executive assistant. So if you have an executive assistant, treat that like very important and don't brush that off. Gatekeepers, you can do a couple things. I'm normally just really nice to them. Why are you calling? Hey, the reason I'm calling is because I'm following up on the email. Not necessarily because I've sent them an email and I am following up on it, right? So that's what I normally say. Are they expecting the call? I normally say, hey, look, sometimes I'll be super direct, like, hey, can you just put me through? And then try to avoid that objection. When someone says they're expecting the call, that's definitely a little bit difficult. I'd be like, hey, I've just been, again, I would just use, hey, I'm just following up on an email. And so when they do that, normally they'll put you through. But this is also a little nugget here to make sure that this is important, right? Is always ask, hey, look, I've getting a lot of disconnects lately on the phone. Can you give me the extension number or the contact information so that I can reach out to this person and not have to go back through you? More often than not, the gatekeeper probably does not want to talk to you. So they will actually give you the contact information. Now, I think a gatekeeper made a brave decision. They gave me the cell phone number. And I'm pretty sure if I call back to that organization, that gatekeeper is no longer there. So, but you always ask that question when you're trying to get through. But again, I always just say I'm following up on an email. I'm following up on an event. That's how I normally get through a gatekeeper. But again, guys, these aren't silver bullets. Some gatekeepers are straight up not going to let you through. Especially, I've called in the UK, they will not let you through because of GDPR. They're just like, nope, not going to do it. So it really just comes down to getting really good data to then have a good direct call. So, and then also essentially, in this room, cool. And now I got to wrap up here. I'm getting kicked out of the room. But essentially here, guys, as it really all over wrapping this up, if you have more questions, reach back out to me. I know there's a ton here. But then again, it was really good for this webinar. And make sure, what about, is he started drawing? Yeah. I would just say, I'm just following up on the information. I would just keep saying that because they're not gonna let you through. So, and again, at the end, guys, this is the wrap up here. If you have, I know there's a ton of questions here. I'll make sure to try to get through them individually. Like, message me on LinkedIn and I'll answer them. But I really do appreciate the time today. Guys, again, go to that link. If you want to make a time with me, let's do that. All the content's there. See you guys soon and keep down. Yes, there's a recording.